Okay.
I think you should do that again. Okay, what do you think is wrong with entry level recruiting as it currently
Wait,
exists?
hold on. Are you recording?
Yeah,
No way.
yeah, go for it.
Okay, go. Ask the question.
What do you think is wrong with entry level recruiting as it currently exists?
I think it's broken. It's broken for a lot of reasons. I think largely because we tried to take practices that were done at the lateral or experience hire perspective and bring it down to the undergrad level. So if you think about it, why do we look at resumes? It's like the chicken and the egg for the student. They need work experience in order to put onto a resume, but they need a resume in order to get work experience.
Hmm.
So what is there to really see? So when I look at it, fundamentally, there are inefficiencies and there are suboptimal outcomes both for student and for company. And so,
What does that look like for students?
well, let's look at it from a student perspective, right? Either they lack access to companies because companies tend to go to 5 or 10 schools and that's it, right? And so they also lack skills, right? Because they don't have as much exposure, which is totally normal. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like they've had a lot of work experience under their belt. So both are very, very challenging, right? Do they fit the part? Do they have the right skill sets that are easily translatable as they go from academia to the corporate world? And then at the same token, they lack access. So how do you unbreak that, right? So that's the struggle that the candidates see. And so they're forced into these supply demand models that don't make a lot of sense, right? I wait on a line for 20 minutes to hope to talk to some representative of a company behind some table who will likely never remember me because they're meeting 300 people in one day. And they take a paper resume, which probably doesn't have much on it, and maybe that just gets stacked somewhere. That's the student experience. On the company side, just like they might be the hottest person in the room, right? Every kid might want to talk to them, or nobody's ever heard of them and they're in the dark corner of the bar and can't get anyone to see them. But either way, they're struggling. And so they can't possibly go to every single kid in America, no matter how talented you are, if you're at X, Y, and Z school in a rural area versus, it might be easier for them to go into their local backyard. So they tend to go to 5, 10 schools. They use that as a filtering system of sorts to say, okay, well, I guess if you got in here, you must be kind of smart. And then from there, it'll be more easy for me to kind of filter out, right? Filter the candidates. But even then, it's still a big population. So how do they filter through that? They start using tools like, let me look at your resume, GPA, majors, those types of things. They've already filtered out 99% of the world through the school filter by just looking at 5 or 10. But then they further filter by certain majors that they think correspond more likely to the position they're hiring, that you're more likely to get the skills, right? So that restricts access on the candidates, but it's also time inefficient to figure that all out. And ultimately, what are we really solving for when the root problem is that students don't have access to real world training? They don't have the ability to be confident about that transition into the corporate world. So instead of trying to game systems, better market, do all this stuff, why don't we fix the core, which is helping student get access and get training? That's where the focus should be. It's not on all this other fluff. So if you think about what we're trying to do at ModernGuild, is we're saying eHarmony up front to create better efficiencies, better match student based off of their preferences and their profiles to the companies that care about that. Just like eHarmony and Match.com did for dating and matchmaking, we're doing that on the upfront for corporate dating, which is just called recruiting. And then on top of that, we fix the riskiness factor, right? Because candidates are risky at the undergrad level because they don't have a lot of work experience, which again is totally normal. So we go train them, we qualify them. Those two things combined create unlimited opportunity for both sides. And it means now, whether you're from a low socioeconomic background, whether you're a rural school, whether you're a business major or a liberal arts student, you now have access. You're no longer being filtered out. It's a pure meritocracy and creates greater efficiencies, compatibility, just like dating and all this use of new technology. We can do it too, but we fix the problem at its root: access, qualification.